To have the courage to be ourselves, we need to have the courage to be disliked. What I'm trying to say is that we often abandon ourselves. When we're chasing for others' approval, we didn't realize what we left behind is often ourselves and what we want. And so, to satisfy what we think others want from us, we abandon our own needs and wants. Well, we're not born to satisfy everyone's needs anyway. We're not born to please everyone. Even if you're the best person possible, there will also still be someone who dislikes you. And the reason sometimes is not because of you, but because of themselves, and they are projecting onto you. And so we need to learn how not to take others' view of us personally. Well, that is not to say to not care about others' advice if they were to give it to us, and it actually can teach us something and is good for us, but we need to have the discernment in order to judge for ourselves. Is this comment actually serves me, or it's just that person's opinion? And we need to have the courage to be disliked. And that is not to say to make yourself actively be hated by everyone else, no, but to know that you can be yourself and be authentic in what you do. And if you're being yourself, it's going to rid of the people that are not meant for you, and the people who stays will actually like you for who you really are. So I would say it's a win-win situation. You would get rid of the people that are not meant for you in the first place, while also attracting the ones that are meant for you, the ones who can finally see you for who you are and align with the alikeness of what you both share authentically. And we need to be brave enough to create something not out of approval, but for the sake of creating and being true, sharing, and not always think outside beyond ourselves. What would others want? What would others like? Because, like I said, that will be a form of self-abandonment. Because if you take on too many people's beliefs and opinions, you wouldn't have the space to consider your own belief. And we need to know that we're worthy. Our own belief is also worthy. And we cannot just give that power away for other people to decide what is right and wrong for us ultimately. You need to trust in yourself that you know what is good and bad for yourself. Because if you don't have that sense of self-worth within you, you can't stand firm. Your ground will be shaken so easily by other people's words and actions. And because you've given that power away to someone else, when you lose them, eventually you will also feel like you've lost a part of yourself. So I think we need to prioritize how we feel for ourselves as compared to how we want others to feel or how we feel about others. Because we need to start directing the thoughts to ourselves and ask ourselves, not constantly trying to seek validation by asking, does this person like me? Will they like my idea? But the real question is, why would you expect everyone to like you if you don't even like everyone? And the most important thing is that you like yourself, and you like yourself enough to prioritize and take yourself seriously in order to express yourself authentically. And so if we are constantly trying to not be too much or too little and not enough for everyone, we will end up molding ourselves into this something that is smaller and less, so that it fits to everyone else's understanding, so that it makes everyone else comfortable with their perception of us in their mind, of what they expect us to be. Or we will constantly feel not enough because we think others' expectation wants more from us when we're not there yet. And we will try to fit into their limiting understanding of us, that people often try to categorize us and fit us into these small boxes, which is quite limiting to who we can and will become beyond that box. So people do that because it is easier for us to think they know you, to understand you, when they don't need to have to put in the time and effort to get to know you, because they've already have this preconception of you in their mind with the stereotypes or their own judgment of what kind of person you are. And so we need to be brave enough to be able to define that for ourselves and to be ourselves, even if it meant other person might not like that. But it's fine, because at the end of the day, you didn't betray yourself. You did what you wanted to do. You say what you thought. And so you express yourself authentically. And from that, someone might even be inspired or attracted to this because you were real, and you give them also the courage to be real with themselves. And so, like I said, by wanting others to accept us, we sometimes deny ourselves of who we are and what we want. For example, if we have a standard of how we want someone to treat us, and because we're afraid that if we have that standard, the other person might not like us anymore because it won't be as easy for them to be with us. But just as you lower your standard and adjust that because of your fear of being disliked, that is a form of self-abandonment. You actually want this, but you deny yourself of it because the other person can't give it to you. But what if you hold on to what you want, and the right person will not only give you enough but more of it when you're honest with what you want and your boundaries of what you will accept for yourself. And so we wouldn't be so easily swayed by others' opinion, whether if it's a compliment or it's a criticism. We will take it as what it is. But for example, if someone were to talk bad about you, part of the reason, partly why you're offended by that, is because part of you believe that is true. And so if you truly believe that you're not that, like someone can say, oh, you're ugly, but you know for a fact that you're not. And so you wouldn't care and wouldn't take that personally. If you have that confidence in yourself, you will stand firm in your ground and it wouldn't be affected easily by others. It's just like someone is insulting us in their foreign language, and it wouldn't get to us because we don't understand what they're trying to say anyway. And in a way, which applies to this situation, because what they say is not true to us. So it wouldn't affect us in any way if it's just gibberish. You just cast it as, oh, fine, that's your opinion, that's not my truth. And so if we keep trying to chase after and seek for outer validation, and we keep denying ourselves of what we want, eventually our own self-worth and self-confidence will be lower and lower because we keep letting others decide for us. And so if others are jealous of your good, they will try to bring you down. And if you also go with that, eventually you will lose your sense of self. But if, say, you're confident in yourself, others' insult will not affect you. Which is not to say, of course, to not listen to anyone at all or to not care about anyone else's opinion for us, because some might actually help us in a way, right? Some, they are actually meant good for us. But also even that, we need to have our own judgment of whether this is for me or not. So, and that is why some people create not to be seen, but to see themselves, to learn more about themselves, to understand themselves more. And that is the way, if you allow yourself to be, you allow yourself the grace and space for you to be, you will be able to witness your own self-growth and all the bad and the good. You will learn to see and accept yourself for who you will become. Because if you truly witness yourself, then you will understand yourself and you will forgive yourself. And because in this life, not only do you have to learn, but we also have to unlearn and relearn. What I'm trying to say is that while we are learning to be better, we need to also unlearn what doesn't serve us anymore, what is not meant for us anymore, the idea of ourselves. And so we can have the space to relearn who we want to be and the idea of who we are meant to be. And so eventually, if you have this standard for yourself of what you will allow and what you will not, other people have no choice but to accept this version of you because you did not shrink after their opinion of you. You stand firm, and so they will be forced to accept where you're at and who you are, whether they like it or not. If they don't like it, then they can go. And so we need to learn to give ourselves that inner validation instead of seeking it from other people. We need to be able to accept ourselves, even if we are not where we are or where we want to be yet. But we need to be patient and allow yourself the time to grow into who you want to be. And eventually you will become who you're meant to be. But you can't be that if every time you take a step towards who you're meant to be, you're being pushed back and pushed down, or making yourself smaller in order to get back to where you've outgrown yourself already, and the people that you've outgrown, the situation that no longer serves you anymore. You're trying to get away from it, right? For the better of yourself and to become a better self. Because you're not in this low energy, this negativity, the people who are insecure of themselves, who hate themselves anymore. And so if you try to move away from that, the people will try to pull you back down to them. But if you're firm in belief and you know what you want and not want anymore, and what you allow or don't allow in your life anymore, you wouldn't be swayed by that, because you can look back and see that, no, this doesn't serve me anymore. I know this is not good for you, and I need to move on ahead and head towards to who I'm meant to be, and to surround myself with the people aligned with that. And other people might see, oh, you're finally to where they're at, and then they can see you, and you can finally attract the likes of you and the surrounding and the environment and the people who are in align at the same level as you. And so you need to leave behind those that are not meant for you anymore in order to make space for those that you are. And so as you move further, and these people, they can try to insult you. Why have you changed? But we are meant to change, and we are meant to grow. And so if these people are still hating over here, you can just leave them behind. You have no obligation to try to bring them with you, especially the burden and the negativity that they are trying to cast onto you, because you've moved on from that low point of life. And so if they're hating, of course you can try to say what you want to say, but you can't save someone who don't even want to save themselves. And sometimes we need to experience some things in order to make us want to change for ourselves. We can't just, of course, we can say some things, try to give encouragement or advice to someone who has not come to the realization themselves yet, but not everyone will accept what you have to say, because they're not at that point of where you're at right now in your life. And so we need to let go of them and the need to save everyone and please everyone. And we need to be brave enough that we trust our own choice and what is good for us. And then we move on. And we can finally take a step forward and further to the person that we're meant to be, and a place that will actually serve the version, the ever-growing version of ourselves. And I think we need to ask ourselves, what truly matters to you? And do you really want to miss out on things and people that are meant for you, for the things and people that are not meant for you anymore? And I think that especially it's very important to have this self-confidence and self-love and self-worth in ourselves, because then we won't let the hatred of other people, of us, or the people that hate themselves, to affect us. And I think that in order to get better, we can't hate ourselves in being better. We can only love ourselves to being better. And which is why I always emphasize that you need to be your own best friend. Because throughout your phase of life, you will lose some people and also gain some people. And while you lose some people, you would not lose yourself, because you will always have yourself. If you're your own best friend and your own supporter, you will be fine no matter of the people that come and go from your life, because you know at the end of the day you have yourself, and that is enough, and you will always have the chance to meet the people that are meant for you. And so you have to have the confidence in yourself and to trust in your own choice. And oftentimes other people's opinion is what they think they want for you, but really the only person who knows yourself the most, who's been through for yourself the whole life, if not yourself, who is it? You've seen all versions of yourself. You've been there since day one. So you should essentially be the one that knows and decide for yourself, because you should know yourself the most. That is, of course, to say you take the time to self-reflect and think of what happened throughout your life, because you're there to witness your own growth. And so doesn't that make essentially our own opinions the one that matters the most? And oftentimes people's opinions is what worked for them, right? What they think the society standards should be. And if you're this, then only it means you're on the right track or you're a normal person. But that is their idea and ideal for themselves and their own life. But we need to be able to have the discernment and see, yeah, this could be the options available, but essentially the choice that you made should be for yourself. And so people's opinion, there might be some wisdom in it, right? Because say some people have experienced some experiences in life that we haven't been through before, because everyone has their own unique experience in life, even if we often share similar experiences because we're humans. But essentially everyone has their own unique experience in life. And so their opinion is sometimes not even their own opinion. It's sometimes what they absorb from other people, and what others' opinion, what others tells them what they should or should not do also, or the media that they consume, because we are essentially what we consume. And so how much of it can we really trust? And how much of it did they consider from their own angle, or did they even try to consider from your angle and what will actually be good for you? Or is that a form of manipulation that they're trying to keep you small in the cage that is comfortable for them, right? There are so many unknown factors in this opinion of them, which they say is for us, an opinion of us. But if we're sure and we can form an opinion of ourselves for ourselves, it is essentially from what we know from our past, and also some media that we choose to consume. And that is not to say doubt your own opinion, but also we need to we can try to consider others' possibility also, right? But I think what the opinion mostly contain should be, and what you consider the most should be yourself. And so we need to accept the fact that we can't make everyone like us, and that is fine. And if someone don't like us, it is fine, because as long as we like ourselves and as long as we have ourselves, because then you will have a clear idea of who you are as a person. When you are firm on the inside, the outside will also start to portray how you feel within of yourself. Allow yourself to first be the self, to believe in yourself, and take the steps towards what you want. So the others and the reality will eventually keep up and catch up with you and meet you where you are. But that is not to say to be so ignorant that we fail to take in others' constructive criticism or actually good advice. Because if you're to the extreme, it's never good to lean towards one extreme. And you're in a point where everyone dislikes you, no matter of where you are, and even if you change your surroundings, and people and everyone still hates you, then it is time for us to self-reflect. And what is it of us that even if we do change our environment, people's reactions towards us is still the same? Because there's a difference between self-confidence and complete ignorance. So that is not to say we aim to be disliked by everyone, but we have to have the courage to be disliked and be fine with the dislike if we know where we're heading is towards a better version of ourselves. And so in the pursuit of that, and knowing that we're not harming anyone when we're being true to ourselves. And so you didn't give the power away for others to decide for you, for you can have the power to decide for yourself. And so even others have criticism of you, you won't have the urge to want to constantly fix what is wrong or run from it if it's running towards the other person, to please what they want of you. And by doing that, you're also running away and leaving yourself behind. And so when you can stand firm in yourself, even if it doesn't feel good to be disliked, especially from someone who you like so much, or someone that you seek approval from, as you think their opinion matters to you. But it shouldn't override the opinion and your worth of yourself. And so if you don't mind feeling uncomfortable at that time, you can sit with it and face it head on and actually understand and actually feel the feeling. Why did I neglect myself? Why do I feel like I need this person's approval in order to feel full, in order to feel complete? Why do I not feel complete myself? Why am I seeking for another person's approval? Is it because we didn't give ourselves enough validation? So essentially, what we're looking for others to give, we're not giving it to ourselves, or we're looking for something we can't give to ourselves. And so it is important for us to realize that sometimes we look for others' validation because we haven't validated ourselves. And so like I said, if you have standards, for example, you want someone to respect you, then you shouldn't disrespect yourself, because why would they respect you if you don't even respect yourself? Why would they change their perception of you, their idea of you, the version of you that they have in their mind? And why would they accept the version that you are right now if they can just morph you into who they want you to be, into the version that they want of you? So that is why I say we have to stand firm enough in ourselves so we do not allow that or tolerate that. We do not accept that beyond what we expect of ourselves, because we're always trying to look out towards the outer source in order to satisfy us. That is when we didn't give enough time and love or pour into ourselves enough, because we think we're not worthy of it. But if you've already faced the whole of you, the good and the bad, you will allow yourself to be what you need to be and allow yourself to feel what you need to feel at the moment in order to become more of yourself. And eventually when you move on from this, you know you have what it takes, and you don't need to depend on anyone's approval or validation when it comes again, the time that you doubt yourself, because you know you have yourself, and you had and will come through the other side just fine, even if you end up making mistakes or you need to take a few steps back. And essentially we need to be our own best friend. That is to say, we are often our own biggest hater. And when there's a criticism that we're insulting ourselves, so we need to catch that and our own best friend side to defend ourselves. And that is not to say be defensive, but be kind and accept that how you would talk to your best friend if they were to feel bad. You need to know your own good, but also accept your own bad in order for you to morph it into something good. And so you won't hate yourself in the hope of become better, because then you will be abandoning parts of yourself in order to be that, and it will be less of you. But that is to say, to love yourself to be better so you can be more and the whole of who you are. Because when you allow yourself to be, you will discover more of yourself, and which leads to a better understanding in your more in depth, and you did not deny yourself of what you think you want. Because the only way to truly know if it's really what you want is by going after it and doing it. And with that, you can discover, oh, that's not really what I want after all, and this is not really for me. Or you can discover, this is really what I want, and it serves me. And so then you can finally have both of this view, and then you decide for yourself what you want and what you don't want. And with that, you will trust your own choice more and your own judgment more. And you will also feel satisfied in that, because you know you've come to that choice yourself by not denying yourself, by allowing yourself to be and experiencing that. And you know if it's truly meant for you or not. And so you allow yourself to be the whole of yourself, to be the all versions of yourself. By you not denying and by you allowing, you learn more of yourself for yourself. And so you can make choices with what you know, because nothing is more true than what you experience yourself. And so we need to be firm enough in the version of ourselves that other people are forced to accept that and meet us where we're at, because we respect ourselves enough to not abandon ourselves. And so when we have the courage to be disliked, we know that we're not meant for everyone. And isn't that freeing to not be able to have to please everyone's versions of you? Isn't that freeing to be able to just be yourself and to do what you want and become who you want to become? Because by being anyone for everyone, we end up not being anyone at all. But by being you for yourself, you end up being someone. And so other people will have to learn and get to know and accept the change and this current version of you, because you will refuse to morph yourself into who they want and just show up as yourself fully, so other people will have no choice but to accept that this is you, this is the version of you right now. And so you're not morphed by others' perception of you, but you're morphed by yourself, of who you've discovered and the things that you've come to know. And you're so fully yourself when you become this version of yourself.